following segment of Farm Talk is brought to you by Newport First Sand Jamaica Limited. First Sand in the field, real issues, real solutions. Joining us this morning for First Sand in the field is Melvin Henry, and Melvin is Technical Manager, Newport First Sand Jamaica Limited. A little bit later on, we will hear from Delano Smith, a farmer out of Innswood in St. Catherine. And this morning, we're taking a look at major issues affecting okra production, but I'm certain as well that Melvin Henry will also provide some tips for you as we are facing Hurricane Beryl. Good morning, Melvin, and welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Alter. I'm doing fine physically. You would appreciate that mentally it's a different level of processing as we await the arrival of the girl Beryl.
Yes. One of the things that, Melvin, we need to continue to just plug away at and make people aware of is that even if there is no direct hit from these systems, the effects can still be devastating, as we would have seen with Hurricane Dean in 2007 and Hurricane Ivan in 2004, which are the storm systems that most people in this era would be most aware of. We have seen other systems such as a tropical storm Nicole that dumped a lot of water on the island. So people need to be on their P's and Q's and aware. Do you get a sense that farmers are in preparation mode or have already prepared?
The feeling at this point in time, and I think it's due to the fact that over the past several years, we have experienced a number of misses. So with that said, you'll find individuals who, say to themselves that at some point in time, for want of a better way of expressing it, our luck will run out. So those individuals will take the necessary precaution. But by and large, farmers who certainly understand the need, who would have invested, understand the need to follow, for example, advisories that the ministry and rather would have put out in terms of some of the steps to be taken, for example, harvesting mature fruits, in terms of livestock, ensuring that the properties are well secured and buttoned. So there is some amount of preparation, but I would not say that in terms of the level that one would expect, in terms of appreciating the seriousness of what is ahead or is likely to happen. And in context, you make mention of the two factors which comes with these systems, the torrential rains in addition to the damage likely to be caused from wind, the sheer impact of wind causing physical damages. So, and that's it. But in terms of an overall approach, or the level that we'd anticipate, as per usual, we are normally late responders, and in the height of things, that's the time when some persons are actually making a move.
Which leads me to the topic for the day. We're focusing on okra, and perhaps where I want to start, I know you're going to talk to us about some of the major issues affecting okra production, but certainly, how can these farmers who now have okra in the field, I don't know, I can't say protect themselves, but what can they do to protect their crop?
Okay, so the plant itself, depending on the stage of development, lend itself to, and it is something that is practiced heavily in a lot of the Asian countries, where the crop, based on its very nature, lend itself to some amount of lowering, meaning you'd bend and try to secure. So instead of experiencing the intensity of the wind, which normally occurs at a higher level, you would reduce the impact. Certainly, of course, if there are mature fruits available, you would want to secure those ahead of that procedure. So some of these crops lend themselves to lowering, and then after the passing of the inclement weather condition, those can be raised. already most of our farmers, based on their own experiences and working with technical advisor services, the ministry and otherwise, would have done some amount of use of bacteria, fungicides that are systemic in nature, so you'll have some sort of fortifying of the plants ahead of a system like this. But as in terms of preparation, that's as far as we really can go at this point in time.
Okay. Which leads me now to a little bit of the history. How important and extensive would you say okra production is in Jamaica?
Okay, so because of the role that okra plays in the overall economy, albeit at a smaller scale compared to other crops, naturally, it is one that has seen tremendous growth dating back from 1973 to now, where I think over the last reports and data suggest that over the last couple of years, the growth in its production has increased at a rate of around 4.8% annually. And because of its importance in domestic consumption, so it is natural that once you hear the word fish, then the other two words that follow is normally bami and okra in any order. So it is natural to understand that it is a staple in our Jamaican cuisine, and it contributes a lot to food security and also the nutrition of our household. In addition to domestic consumption, there is actually several international markets that we actually export okras to. And if we're talking about export, it is therefore reasonable to understand that there is the generation of foreign exchange and also the creation of jobs within the agricultural sector. Separate and apart from domestic and export, it is a crucial part of income generation, especially for smaller farmers in rural communities. Okra within 50 to 65 days you're harvesting, so it therefore means that the time to maturity or production is pretty short, and these are some of the crops that farmers tend to ensuring that their livelihoods are well taken care of. This is one of the crops that farmers normally turn to in order to ensure that they're generating income, especially in rural communities.
All right, and so there's a lot of focus on this crop. By the way, people have okra and salt, fish, and all sorts of they use it in soup, so it is very well used. All right, so what would you say then, Melvin, are some of the major challenges associated with okra production locally?
Okay, so there are, like any other agricultural crop, there are several issues affecting the production of okra, but for this conversation, we want to turn our attention to especially one that has been growing. It is something that our farmers continue to have discussions about, especially over the last year and a half, in terms of a new and a growing trend. And this has to do with viral infections within the okra plant. So normally the okra mosaic virus, and when we refer to mosaic, we're actually referring to a pattern of different shades of green and yellow being visible on the plant. There's also the okra leaf curl virus, which, as the name suggests, causes the leaves to curl. Now, the concerns as it relates to this particular virus, the okra mosaic virus, is something that intensified over the last couple of months. And not only is it a concern locally, as we're addressing now, but indications are that within the regions, within the Caribbean, it's a similar trend, and the utterances or the concerns being raised by farmers is in keeping with that. So once you have a mosaic virus, as said before, the leaves of the plant does not have that natural green color, which equates to the plant being in a position to be as productive as it should. So as a result of that, there are a number of impacts that it has on the plant overall. The first one is that the plant is what we refer to as dwarfism, meaning that the plant has a significant reduction in the natural height of the plant, and the growth rate of the plant becomes retarded. And research has shown that where you have this infestation at a certain level, you can have as much as a 20% reduction in the height of the okra plant. Now, it stands to reason that if the okra plant has been reduced from its original height by 20%, then in terms of productivity or your ability to access fruits, that also will be compromised, because there's a direct relationship between the height, the productive capability of the plant, and what you'll get in terms of returns. In addition to that, which is of grave concern as well, is the reduction in the fruiting of the plant. So because the viral particles or the virus is within the system of the plant, it is interfering with a lot of normal processes within the plant. And as a result of that, one of them that is affected is fruiting, and before that, flowering. And research, well-documented research, has shown that as much as 35% reduction can be seen once you have a viral infection within the system of the okra plant. So these are concerns that and it becomes an issue, and the reason for that is that for us, anything that has the potential to impact the farmer's revenue stream is cause for concern, and it is something that from time to time and at all times we seek to address to see how best we can put together the response in order to stave off some of these negative implications.
Certainly very important. That is, Melvin. We're on the break, so let us clear that. When we come back, we're taking a look at some of those farming practices that the farmers engage in that perhaps make some of the challenges that you have mentioned worse than they really should be. And we'll also hear from one okra farmer, Delano Smith.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
6:31.
Presenting another finalist in the 2024 Jamaica Festival Song Competition.
Wagwan Jamaica, it's your girl Tristar, and my song is Jamaica, Jamaica. Jamaica, Jamaica, sweet and nice. We love you like the island vibe. Jamaica, Jamaica, the island notes. How many one people we rise? Tell them say we dig about we tell our sweet
Jamaica Festival 2024.
How much do you know about spices and the impact they have on your everyday life? Join us every first and third Thursday during Farm Talk with Althea McKenzie at 6:18 a.m. for Spice Up Jamaica. We'll give you tips, tidbits, and interviews about the revitalization and sustainability of the Jamaican spices, including ginger, turmeric, and pimento. That's Spice Up Jamaica every first and third Thursday at 6:18 a.m. during Farm Talk with Althea McKenzie, right here on Power 106 FM. Spice Up Jamaica is brought to you by the U.S. Department of Agriculture Food for Progress Jamaica Spices Project.
Farm Talk continues here on Power 106 FM. We're inside First Stand in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions. We have with us Melvin Henry, Technical Manager, Newport First Stand Jamaica Limited, and joining us now as well, Delano Smith, who is a farmer out of Innswood, St. Catherine. Mr. Smith, good morning and welcome to Farm Talk. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I am great. Can you just lift your voice just a little bit for us so we can hear better what it is that you're saying? Let me try that again because I want to make sure that we're all hearing you clearly. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Very, very well.
Good, much, much better. Thank you so very much for that. And we'll come back to you in just a bit. But let me find out from Melvin, are there current farming practices that give rise to the worsening of some of the challenges that you have mentioned with okra?
Sure, there are a number of practices that our farmers engage themselves in from time to time, which are not good agricultural practices and therefore considered as bad. One of which is, well, first off, it must be stated that these viruses are normally transmitted by vectors. So be they insects or mites. And as a result of that, paying close attention to your pest population, your vector population is critical. Now, as it relates to pest management regimes or programs, there are sometimes the fact that there are a lot of them that are faulty in terms of a number of points. One is that the chemistries or the products being selected to control a particular pest is very critical, that it must be clearly stated that the pest in question is one that the active ingredient targets. And the reality is that from time to time there is this misconception that selecting any insecticide, for example, will effectively control a mite, or based on the feeding pattern of the insect, this will work. So it is very important to ensure that there is guidance that you receive in this regard. As it relates to the rate of application, there is sometimes a lot of flaw there, because as per the manufacturer's instruction, oftentimes farmers do not stick to. And if it is that there's the absence of a measuring device on farm, it simply means that at some point in time, and more often than not, you'll not be adhering to the manufacturer's instructions. Again, the frequency of application, because these pests has what we refer to as a life cycle, there has to be an adherence to a certain level of frequency in terms of when you apply, so you can interrupt that life cycle. Oftentimes, a lot of the response comes when the horse has already bolted, when there's serious challenges. The timing of application, timing in terms of when to commence application, is also another problem, because a lot of our farmers establish nursery or secure material, planting material from nurseries. And it must be stated that once you have the existence of true leaves, then your pest and disease management protocol must kick in from that point in time, not when you're actually in the field, because in reality, oftentimes the plants enter the field already infested with challenges. Timing again in terms of what time of the day, because the environmental conditions play a critical role in how effective pesticide work. And if it is that you're applying pesticide, for example, in temperatures way in excess of, let's say, 28 degrees Celsius, well, in fact, the best range is between 16 and 24, then it means that the efficacy of the product becomes questioned. Oftentimes we see farmers using, for example, mist blowers in the heat of the sun, applying a mist to a hot leaf surface. The evaporation rate is very high. So there's a little protection after you pass through that field for the crop. And those are some of the hills that, if we pay closer attention to, we can actually reduce the levels at which we have this problem. So in particular,
go ahead.
In particular, in specific response to the virus, we have a viricide, the star viricide, which plays a critical role from nursery stage, and if you're adhering to a 10 to 15 day cycle in terms of its application, that then you will realize that the expression of the virus is controlled, and as a result, those hills that we spoke about in terms of the growth rate, the height of the okra plant, and also the ability of the plant to produce flower and fruit, those will not be compromised, and you can have a comparatively better yield once you start using the star viricide from the nursery stage.
Right, and let me just bring Mr. Smith in. Mr. Smith, how long have you been farming okra?
About 2 years now.
And why did you decide to choose this plant?
I'd seen a bit of yellowing on the leaf and things like that, like a disfiguration. And then I reached out to the person and the sender agent, and I tell you, based upon examination and things, let's say the virus is a mild virus. And I tell you, the star that was recommended after going through thorough investigation into the field, until the person people, the speed response, that was a good thing again. They are very speedy and response. And a thorough when they're going through. But the star,
so you have worked with them to develop a plan of action to assist you in terms of attacking whatever issues and challenges you're facing, and then of course increasing your yields as well. What does this mean for the outlook of your operations in terms of growing okra?
That's right. So when growing okra, remember, it's not attractive, and that's why we're going into a business, we're going to make a profit. So when that yellow man that come across that Mr. Melvin speaker, it alters a crop like dramatically. Let's crop it stop eating abrupt, you know what I mean? So it takes a way back to a way of force.
So having said that, I would imagine then that you are taking a look at the challenges that you've faced, where it is that you are now, and perhaps also looking to do more, because now you know how to control some of these issues.
Yeah, that is it. So it is the nip in the bud. I said good husband for farming is a thing against me, because you can bring pests from year or next person field to year field. You know what I mean? So, and it is again the good products, because the star products is a very good product. It's almost like magic. I'll tell you it so far.
Almost like magic. And that being said, what advice would you give to fellow farmers who are experiencing some of the challenges that you faced, or experiencing challenges similar to what you face?
I recommend contact person, because they have very good people, very good representatives there, and stick with the program, because they have very good program. You know what I mean? The star when it comes to okra, I'm telling you, it's up now. I couldn't even know the experience like magic. I'm telling you, sister, because for a minute, it was like the pest problem was like eating nothing. My profit was very low for a minute, nothing going back. And from I started using the within a couple of days, like 2 or 3 days, leaves come pop up again and look, plant come alive, pop and pretty at night. You know what I mean? It's beautiful.
Good. That's excellent, which means that having done the assessment and followed the protocols as given to you by Newport firsthand, you are seeing significantly better results, and that's very good. Let me bring Melvin back in, and Melvin, you have just about 2.5 minutes. Want to comment on what it is that you saw when you all went into Delano's farm, and having looked at those challenges, your final recommendations before we have to close out this morning's feature?
Okay, so when he called expressing concern about how the plants were looking, what the assessment revealed was that, and again, he had a pepper field that was in close proximity to the okra fields. But the pepper was actually going out of its useful life in terms of him generating revenue from it. And from time to time, that is also one of the challenges that we have with our farmers, that once a crop reaches a point where there is little or no net return from it, it is part of the practice that we recommend that you discard of it properly, because that field now could be a source of inoculation for your other fields. So, in fact, when we made the recommendation to Mr. Smith, within 5 days, I got a call and a video. And when I got the video, I was actually off the island. And when I returned, I had to, on the weekend, go to the location to see if what I saw in the videos were actually true. So the reality is that it was heavily infested with whiteflies, which is the major vector for this okra mosaic virus. And again, some of the rotation of chemistry was not being done, and as a result of that, the explosion of the whitefly population was the reality and the cause for the spread. But subsequent to getting those two components, your pest and disease management component, on the wraps, and utilization of the star viricide, what he accounted for is spot on. It was nothing short of a 360-degree turn in terms of the appearance, the bringing to life of those plants, and ultimately the productivity of that crop, which is actually ongoing as we speak.
All right, well, we thank you, Melvin, for coming to us this morning. This is a very important crop economically, as you say. Once you hear fish, you're going to hear okra and bami. And so I'm very happy to know that you do have a program that farmers can rely on to help them get good results. And I really want to encourage you and, of course, our guest earlier, Mr. Smith, Delano Smith, to take care of yourselves as together we all face the passage of Hurricane Beryl.
Thanks, and thank you.
All right, take care. Melvin Henry there, Technical Manager, Newport First Sand, Jamaica Limited, and Delano Smith, farmer out of Innswood in St. Catherine.